Police were forced to open fire on a naked man who refused to stop chewing the face off of another man.
A college student tells police he killed a housemate and then ate part of the victim's heart and brain.
Hey.
Welcome to the Rebel Dead Zombie Apocalypse Show. Hopefully everybody in chat can hear me. I think so. Shisto said hello. Yay. Welcome to all the Rebel regulars. Thank you for dropping in. And welcome to some new people that I know we have in here tonight. I appreciate you all dropping in. Tonight with me, very surprised last minute guest, but very welcome, Dominic, Dom, Papa Dom in the house. He's a staff writer for Rebel. Everybody say hi to him.
Hi to him.
Hi to him.
That was a bad joke. It wasn't.
So, and we are late 3 minutes because of him getting a beer. So.
Listen, all right. If it's the end of the world, I need a beer.
But at the end of the world, there may not be any beer for a while. So remember this. This is a good thought.
Oh, you weren't kidding when you told me the show was going to be serious. No beer?
No, we are very serious. In fact, though, we will. I will go over. We're going to recap last week's show. Last week's show was a little serious, more serious than usual when I blew everybody's mind with disease control and the zombie apocalypse long term.
Okay.
And I think it, well, in chat, even Blue says we take the show very serious. And they do, because I kind of give everybody some really, we discussed AIDS and the zombie apocalypse. We discussed no vaccines for any children or any adults. How mosquitoes, how that would become a very relevant way to catch disease would be mosquito bites again, because there's nothing to ward off anything. So it was so serious, in fact, I figured we would actually continue the show, because we talked about living community-wise, long-term. We're saying we're like 2 years into this, and people are starting to think, okay, we need to kind of live this way as a lifestyle, but we're going to need to live in maybe fortress-type places with other people. And who did we gross out with? We grossed somebody out. I think it was Barry, staff writer Barry, our head writer for Rebel Gaming, was on with us last week, and we grossed him out a little bit with poop.
Oh, poop.
And yeah, we had discussed that everybody would essentially, I guess, end up having a job. You know, little things that we take advantage of, like toilet paper, it would run out. There would not be any eventually, and it's not like you can run down to the store, because there's going to be eventually anything of store types will be wiped out by people like me who would go in and take advantage of the fact that there was nobody in the store, and I would take as much as I could. Everybody's going to think that way. Everybody's going to do it. And but it grossed Barry out, and I says, well, Barry, you got to think about it. If you live in a communal type, let's say there's 50 people in your community, you got to go to the bathroom somewhere, and you're going to have to deal with the quantity of it eventually.
Oh, God.
So that's you know, and he was really grossed out by that. So we decided that in our little community, we would give him the job of taking care of the poop. So you could actually tease him on Twitter about it. But the other thing though that we had said was that somebody getting sick in your community would be a big deal.
Right.
Somebody that sneezed or had a running nose, you know, would be a big deal. It wouldn't be like it is now, where we take some over the counter, because even if, you know, 2 years into this, you know, there are any over the counters left, they're going to be a hot commodity. It's going to be gold.
Yeah.
You know, so we had said there would be, somebody called it basically the death house. There would be a house where people would go, and that's where they would go and try to get better, but essentially somebody else said they would become a target for death, like somebody would want to kill them.
Right.
Because the last thing you want to do is infect the rest of your community. So, and Blackfire just joined chat. Hey, Blackfire, welcome, welcome. He's one of the Rebel regulars.
What's up? What's up?
Another thing that we had talked about was the loss of life not due to zombies attacks, because you have so many people that stay alive now because of prescribed medicines. People with diabetes that can't be controlled by food, people that are being treated for cancers. You know, you think about it in that kind of state, those people would essentially, they're going to die, period.
Yeah,
you know,
very quickly too.
Yeah, without their medication. So this was our talk about last week, and I think we're going to continue it. Oh, before I go on though, everybody in channel, make sure you thank my son, Rob Selig, that's at ROBSELLIG on Twitter. He's now taking all of our shows and he's loading them up on YouTube for you to watch. He's editing the background noise out. He's adding the intro to them. So all of the Rebel Dead Zombie Apocalypse show and all of the Rebel Live shows will now be able to be seen every week on YouTube. So
Rob's the man.
he is. So
Good-looking kid too.
yeah, thank you. I made him. So people that have missed shows that couldn't come here, because we know even on phone apps we found out that unless we're live, you can't hear, you can't watch the show, or you can't listen to the shows, and you can't. I know even from a friend of mine's phone, they can't go and listen to the previous shows. Oh, like on iPhone you can't, but like on Android you can't, or something like that. So we just said, fuck it, and we decided that we're putting them all up on YouTube, so everybody can go to YouTube and listen. And
so thanks, Rob, you handsome bastard.
yes, no, somebody in channel said, so it is a video? No, it's not. It's a radio show, but sometimes I actually change the picture around.
But if you want to look at pictures of my face, Twitter.com/DonMahoney.
Yes, if you need if you need to look at something, you can go look at Dom.
Yeah, you can. I welcome it, actually.
Dom likes to be looked at. So.
Yes, I do. I've got a kind of a thing with that.
Oh, Phil's fan's here, and he lost sound. Phil's fan, dude. I was bugging him on Twitter, telling him to join us to spend a few days. So it's nice to see, like, oh, Project Hada's in the house. I gamed with him. That's exactly his Twitter is his name in here. So everybody say hi to Hada.
Hey.
I gamed with him on Battlefield the other night for his clan on the Team Pawnage server. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. I'm just trying to say hi to everybody and not be rude. Everybody's came in. Dino Gamer's here and everybody's here. I have seen everybody. I just haven't said hi to everybody. So I'm trying to catch Dom up, everybody in chat, with kind of what we have talked about last week, and the previous shows we had all touched base on, you know, what would you do the first 72 hours? You know, what would you do 36 hours? What would you do? You know, so now we've actually just moved on to long term. We figured that most people would be dead, not from, there would be a mass death rate going on, which would in turn, I'm assuming, cause more zombies. See, that's something we didn't even talk about, because there's going to be nobody burying these people. You know what I mean? People that have, like, ailments that need medication, their medication runs out, they're dying. So there's not like anybody, and you can't just bury people anymore. You have to burn them, or you have to decapitate them. You have to. That's the only way to kill a zombie. So we're like, I'm thinking, you know, with this, and you got to think of the, you know, just a scary stat I'm going to throw at you guys today. In 2012, 563,000 people are going to die of cancer. So, and that's a true stat that I got today from the Cancer Society.
Jeez.
So, let's take that into perspective. Let's say we're in that apocalypse right now. We're 2 years into it. Let's say that many people, on average, with treatment, are going to die. Can you imagine the people that have cancer, or that were going to be diagnosed with it, that would die? You know what I mean? So we're talking. That's a huge amount of people. That's a huge amount of
over 500,000 people.
That's a huge amount of dead bodies
in 1 year.
Yeah,
in
1 year. So, yeah, I wasn't spamming your Twitter feed. I was giving people true facts. I believe those stats were for the U.S., which is very scary.
The U.S. has probably the best, modern medicine available. You've got third world countries and places with less.
Well, that's the other thing that we had talked about, and that's why Barry was on our show last week to counter my claims that the UK would be wiped out in a zombie apocalypse, and because they have no weapons, but I guess they do have very limited weapons. But then I said, you guys aren't going to get to those weapons; they're limited.
Right.
The rich people are going to have them, and then the rich people would end up dying because they don't know how to deal with zombies. They're rich. But no, I'm not wiping you out. We talked about this. I understand that you guys have an army and everything. That wasn't my point. I know you're in the UK as well. I'm talking to people in chat. We have a very, very Project Hada. Yes. In a couple weeks back, we said probably at the a colder climate would actually probably be the best suited for long-term zombie apocalypse living, and this is why. Around here, I live in central New Jersey. We're surrounded by saltwater marshes. Every year they spray the fields out here because the mosquitoes here are insane. That said, you have to think about this 2 years in. Nobody's spraying the mosquitoes. There's no rabies vaccination anymore. If you get bit by a rabid animal, I mean, there's nothing for you. You are dead. So, what I was going to talk about this week, though, was, and Project Hada, West Nile, absolutely, but you got to think of all the other things that would probably end up being able to be transmitted by mosquitoes if there's no vaccinations anymore. There's no treatment for anything. There's no sprays to kill bugs. There's no nothing. And oh my God, Drama's in the house. Hey buddy, what's up? This is Mr. If you guys know who he is, he works for Activision. He's dropping in to say hi, but he's my friend tonight. He's not Activision tonight. So, and he hates mosquitoes.
Tonight we're not co-workers, we're co-people.
We're co-people tonight, yes. I like that, Tom. But that you got to think of all of the issues that would be very, very relevant that you wouldn't be able to ward off anymore because there's no, you can't go to the store and buy off.
Right.
It's not going to happen. You can't.
You mean no mosquito candles?
No mosquito candles. Although though there are plants that you can plant in your yard that and I had one a few years ago and I don't know what happened to it now that I think about it. Probably somebody stole it, but they do give off a scent that keeps mosquitoes away. So I mean, obviously, if you could find one of those and cultivate them, which long term, I'm thinking you would probably go very holistic in ways that you would fend off disease and things like that. But that's why we had said a colder climate would probably better to go to. So Canada, and I had said this: if it were me and my kids, I would definitely make the trek to Canada, the colder regions. Not saying that zombies don't go there, but there's going to be the less likelihood that somebody in my family dies because of being bitten. I will weather the cold.
Yeah,
I will weather the snow.
I mean, I'm in Boston, and New England's weather is wild. Anyway, you're pretty close, Steph, so you know that. So like, as soon as the warm weather comes around, as soon as the mosquitoes start coming out, I'm praying that winter can't come soon enough, because it just becomes like that. So I mean, some place that's colder permanently would definitely be more beneficial.
And that's exactly. So, I don't think there'd be a lot of people, because can you think about, though, what it would be like in, like, third world countries? Zombie apocalypse, it's already bad there now.
It's already,
I don't want to,
right. So,
so if there's nothing there to help them, but even not third world countries like Mexico, where you've got a mix, but like their inner cities are so, like, I think like the smog rate in Mexico City was so horrible that, I mean, it's like the worst in the world.
Yeah.
But like places like that have been, I think of, like, in my mind, the image I get of what could be running around there during a zombie apocalypse is scary. You couldn't go, you'd have to go up north, you'd have to go to colder climates, places like Greenland. This is why I said Russia would survive kind of well, I think. Shinto and Channel says a lot of diseases come from Mexico. And you name one, swine flu came from there.
Yeah, what else? The shits?
Yes, don't go there and drink the water. That's not a disease,
exactly.
That's just a fact.
I don't think diarrhea is a disease. I mean, it could be, but...
Blackfire says, would there be mass riots if when the zombies hit, but people still the essentials for survival? What law? That's what I would like to say. What law? No offense, dude, but the last thing I'm gonna do is, like, if there's a cop in the road directing traffic and I've got freaking 50 dead people coming at me, guess what I'm gonna do to that cop? Fuck you. Dude,
yeah,
everybody,
exactly.
there will be no law then. You will become your own law. We had talked about this, Blue, and you know this because you've been here from the get-go. Law, long term, 2 years in, we're looking at now, you would have a community maybe. We had talked, some people said they'd stay on their own, which I don't think long term would be good, because being a loner when people are going to start becoming communities is not good. Because if somebody comes up to our fortress door, so to say, and knocks and says, hey, I would like to come in and stay here. If you don't have some kind of skill to bring to that community, I ain't letting you in, because that's an extra mouth to feed.
Exactly.
So, and I know that sounds really bad, but that's the truth. I think that's the thinking people will have. You can't let families into your community once it's established.
No, and again on the law thing is, some people might be a desirable person for some communities that might want to develop some sort of order, and they might want someone with experience keeping order. So maybe if they have two ex-cops or two ex-military who happen to wander through, they might appoint them to try to keep the peace if they can.
Right. Right. You know what, though? I'm going to be honest with you. The last person I want keeping peace in my community is an ex-cop.
Right.
I mean, I'm not being mean. I know a lot of cops, so I'm not being mean, but I know a lot of cops that are big-headed about
that's a well-known fact.
So I'm not going to go there. We do need them. They are good for our communities. Some are, and some are not. And I think that's a big thing we should talk about, actually. How do you just, like, nominate people to say, hey, listen, dude, you're really big and you're jacked, so you're going to be the law in our community.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? Or do you, how do you go about that? Because if, let's say, they vote on it, the community votes X person, or a group of people, say, you will be our law, you will enforce, make sure everybody's doing their jobs. But what if there's a group of people in there that don't want these people? All of a sudden, you've got disorder in your orderly community already with no law. Judge Dredd. Yes. Drama says, I'd float around in the ocean because zombies don't swim. That is something that we had talked about as well. We had talked about, and there's a big debate. I cannot even believe that we're talking about it still. Do zombies survive underwater, or do they die? But listen to me, though. But listen, you have to understand the logic in this. Zombies are already dead. They can't die again.
They can't walk on the ocean floor. That's disregarding pressure, and they would absolutely be crushed if they tried to walk on the
like
They wouldn't get
floor.
Anywhere. Be crushed.
Like, so if
their
float,
bodies are already half
okay,
rotted.
but what if they float? Do they die? No, they don't. They're dead.
Yeah, but they would be. That would crush all of them, not just their body. I'm talking about their brain.
All right.
If they're completely crushed, I mean, that's it's not like, I mean, obviously their brain's already pretty much shut off.
Right.
But I mean, they're already decaying, and if that makes them even more vulnerable to the pressure, and their bodies are softer and like I said, already pretty much soft and decayed. So as soon as they start hitting really, really low sea levels, they'll be decaying.
No. Obviously, they're not going to be walking around on the bottom of the ocean floor.
Well, someone else said that. Someone said that up there. It was like they can just walk on the bottom of the ocean. I'm like, no, dude, no, I don't think they can. I don't think that's possible. If it's a lake, maybe. Ocean, no, absolutely not.
All right. So, okay. So you're saying, so when Drama says he's going to be floating around in the ocean, I get this image of, if you've ever seen Drama's, he's got a very nice, he's always smiling in all of his pictures, very big. And this is all I see. I see him in this inner tube in the ocean floating around. So, see, he's laughing because he's always smiling. He'd just be happy, have a beer in his hand or something. He'd have like a cooler, and he'd drink like a beer every other day to save. But no. But all right. So we've distinguished that. But getting back to communal living and the law, my theory is that law would kind of be open-ended. I think everybody, and I'm not talking about somebody that would come along and say, oh, well, Stephanie, you didn't get out to the garden today, or you didn't shore up the fences today, or I'm talking that everybody would kind of know that they were supposed to be doing something, and everybody kind of work together to keep law and order in your community. You'd have to have people on watch 24/7. There, that's going to be a big job. Yeah, yes. Would zombies stay away from fire?
Well, since they can't really feel pain, I would think that they would just walk through it if it was being...
Right, and then they'd catch on fire, and then they would die again.
Right, exactly. Like, Dino just said the same thing. Like, they wouldn't feel the heat.
Right.
They might not. I mean, obviously, they probably wouldn't know. If they're brain dead, I mean, they're not going to be like, oh, shit, fire, let me turn around, bro.
No, Hatter, we're talking about zombies, the living dead. We talked about last week, somebody said different strain of zombies, and I said, no, we're just zombies. Dead people are dead people that come alive, and they're zombies. Some are faster than others, stronger. No, I don't believe so. I believe that that's what you get from gaming.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm being very honest with you. I think zombies are zombies. If they were somehow crippled beforehand, they're going to be crippled as zombies, but they're going to get around because they're zombies. Their one motivation is to feed. It's not even to kill, it's just to feed. That's all they know is to feed. They smell life and they want to eat it. So
like me with beer. I smell it and I want to drink it.
Yes.
I'm like a beer zombie.
There you go. Yeah, in channel they said I must be a zombie. I always want to eat, but that's their one motivation. So I don't think there's different strains. We talked about that before. Somebody said, what about people that took steroids before they became zombies? Would they be zombies on steroids? No. They'd be dead. They'd be the living dead. The drugs do not affect the zombies because they're dead. There's only, essentially, as we think, as we know, from what, and there actually is, I'm going to find it and link you guys to it. There is an actual site that dedicates themselves to the study of zombies. And I've read it, and even they say, oh, good night, Shinto. So they, you know, there's one part of the brain stem, the base of their brain that has, that's the one thing that drives them. They don't have anything else, so there's not going to be super zombies. There's not going to be crawlers, quote unquote. There'll be crawlers if they were in a wheelchair. Then they would be crawlers. Do you know what I'm saying? But I don't think that
the bicycle lady from Walking Dead, the one that's like already split in half from the very first episode. Ugh.
Yeah. So you know, you're not going to have these super strains of zombies. Absolutely, I just don't think it's going to happen. That's what had led us into talking about, and this is where I kind of made it. I think everybody stopped talking in chat when I said, well, how about AIDS? Because there's going to be, you know, AIDS and HIV would become a huge thing again. You know, whereas now it's something that we hear about, we don't even, it's like we don't even turn our head to because it's such a part of our living, you know. And then all of a sudden you don't have that. So somebody had said that's why we had made the distinction that dead is dead, and do zombies still carry over if they had the AIDS virus before they died? Would they, when they became a zombie, could they essentially, like, if they, like, you got scratched by one, not bitten, because we're assuming you need to be bitten by a zombie to get infected by it. So if you get scratched by it and there's blood on their hands and it gets into, do you catch AIDS from it? See, that was another discussion we had.
Huh.
Oh, good night, Drama. Thank you for dropping in. That was very nice of him to drop in like that.
It's so nice, Drama.
It was. So
great first impression.
He's my buddy. I've known him for a while now. So
I'm already in love.
You should be, because of, he used to work for Activision support and then he got a little bit of a promotion, but he was he's up there with Mikey for support. They're probably my two buds, game with them. So, but you're what somebody says in channel, I can't see real good. So tempted to post a video, it's relevant. Well, what's the video of? Describe it to us.
Is it kittens?
Yes, it's kittens.
Please post it if it's kittens. I like those.
All right, MLG Blue. Sorry for the silence there for a minute. I was reading. Well. Okay, real quick though. If it doesn't really have to do with zombies, then I guess really don't post it though. So Blue just said though, you know, reading a lot of zombie attacks. In real, these humans have super strengths that other people can't pull this zombie off. Oh, pull a zombie off that someone's getting their face chewed off. Well, you know what though? They say they have like a super strength more than humans. It's because they're dead. If, you know, it's kind of like, I'm going to explain it to you. This is how I am going to analogize this. You always hear of people that get superhuman strength. When I was probably about 9 years old, I lived in California, and this Mexican woman used to take care of me and my sister. They were from Mexico, her and her husband, and they took care. He was the foreman on a huge farm out there. They had and they had like 12 kids, no lie. There's literally 2 picnic tables in their huge kitchen, and that's how they sat down to eat. One of their sons was mentally challenged, and his name was Robert. And his father was working on their pickup truck. It wasn't a super, super small one, like the little tiny Toyotas, but it wasn't one of those big ones either. And he was kind of leaning under there with his father, kind of helping him. And the jack came out, and the back tire fell on their son's chest. And the father ran out. I was there. I'll never forget this. The father ran out and just tried to lift the truck, couldn't lift it. Ran into the house to call 911 or call police, somebody. I don't even know if they had 911 back then. But in the meantime, as he's on the phone, she runs out from the kitchen. She screams something in Spanish. She goes to the back of the truck, and I swear to God, she lifts the back of the truck out, and they pulled out their son. It's called, it's a super strength, and I believe this is the kind of strength that zombies have.
That's insane. Yeah, I think that that could be related to just straight desire and need. Like, who do you think is going to eat something faster? Someone who hasn't eaten in 3 days, or someone who just had lunch an hour ago? Like,
right.
Who do you think is going to be able to lift something? Someone who has something under that, or someone who's just lifting it to lift it? Like, if you've got a child trapped under something, God forbid, or you've got a precious object or something that you absolutely need to pull out every little last shred of strength in.
Right.
You're gonna pull that off, and that's where you have a zombie that they have one desire, they only have one sense, and that's to feed. That's their only thing. So every single shred of energy that they have that they can muster is going to be dedicated to getting that feeding, no matter what.
So I would think, of course, they have a quote unquote super strength. It's not super strength. It's just when that's their one desire, and can zombies be fought off? I think so. If you got a strong enough person, if you got that desire to live and not die, you know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely you can. Let's see. Project Hada in channel says zombies feel no pain, so they can continue to rip through tissue or flesh without stopping. No stop feature on a zombie could be seen as more strength. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. They don't have they have no thought process. It's just a feeding process. It's like flies. They live for like 48 hours or something. They're born, they eat shit, they mate, they die. I mean, that's it. And their one drive is to mate. That's it. So it's kind of
a good life. That's a good life.
Eat shit.
It's like eat shit, get laid. Like, I know a lot of people like that. Actually.
I know. Only I can compare a zombie apocalypse with the life of a fly. But Dino Gamer says adrenaline is a natural drug produced by the body during moments of extreme stress. It's pretty much super steroids. Yes, I know that, but we're trying to kind of relate it to the super strength that people said, relate to zombies. And if they don't have a thought process, they don't have they don't have a hunger even. They're not hungry. It's a drive to feed.
Right.
And
most people have a fight or flight response. They
right.
have a fight response. That's it. They don't have a flight response. They're not running from anything.
They'll go after flesh after flesh after flesh. They won't get full. They don't go hungry. They don't, you know what I mean? So it's that's really shitty. It's not like, I filled up on this person, I'm going to leave that person alone.
Right, exactly.
The fat bastards. Yes, absolutely they are. So that would be, that's another thing. So we've got that out of the way, though. There are no super, I'm sorry, I'm hearing music. Like, oh, all right. I'm looking, remember, we're live, so I'm hearing all, this is the first smooth show so far, though. You can ask anybody that's here regularly. Usually I have some catastrophe. So, in the background.
Yeah, I have no music going on in the background.
Yeah, no, I think it's here, though. So, it's like actually in the other room, they're gaming. But,
go to bed, Rob.
No, it's not Rob. It's my other two boys. So my daughter's being a good girl on the couch here, not listening to the TV. But Project Hada says, I think decaying is a big factor. I keep mentioning it. The longer a zombie walking, the more easier to kill. No? Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
They don't have anything, they don't have any cell regrowth. Their organs aren't alive. So but you got to understand too, though, how quickly do they decompose at? That's things that we don't know. I would assume that the freshly dead zombies would live longer than the zombies with very minimal flesh. They have to have some kind of, if that one part of the brain is the one thing that keeps them feeding, I would think that they would have to have at least that much. They're going to need their head. That's why to kill a zombie, the best way is to decapitate them.
Right.
So Project Hadith feels that if they're walking around, they would decay faster. If they're walking around and killing, that's a good possibility. We don't know that. It makes sense to think, though, that they do have a decaying process because they are dead. But on the other hand, though, the living dead, they're already, would they decay?
They're not in the ground. It's not like they're, if you're buried, obviously you're going to have you have contact with more bacteria and with more of the elements. So, but if they're walking around, it's not like, they can come over 3 months, but you have cases where, I've read stuff where you've got bodies that get exhumed 15 years later and they still look pretty good. So you don't know. It depends on the coffin. It depends on the person.
It depends.
If they were a frail individual, they might be decaying in 3 months.
But as well, though, if the part of this brain that makes the living dead, you have to understand something too. If they don't have any cell regrowth or anything, we don't know the rate that they would decay at because they're a different form of human. So just like you had just said, Dino Gamer, it depends on the conditions. A zombie's lifespan, that sounds ironic though because they're dead. A zombie's death span, we don't really, would they decay at a faster rate or would they stop decaying? Because of this one, no other part of their brain works except the part to feed. So, we don't know how quickly they would break down to where that part of their brain would not function anymore. If their arm falls off, they're still coming at you because they don't have a loss of blood because technically zombies don't have any blood.
Right.
If they're freshly dead on the side of the road or something, obviously they will. But anything that's coming out of a graveyard that's been freshly buried has, they've been, their blood has been cleaned out of their system. Their organs have been, most of their organs have been gone through or even donated. The only part of a human a lot of times that's not, unless you donate your body to science as a cadaver, but pretty much everything is taken from your body except for your brain.
Right.
No, Dino Gamer, I understand you're going to have blood in your body. You know what though? If you go to a morgue, you do not have blood in your body after they bury you. You don't. I have a friend who actually works as an undertaker, so I know that process. So you're not, if you are killed by a zombie, well, yeah, you're going to have blood in you, but it doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. you know, once you're killed by a zombie and then you come back as a zombie, having blood or not having blood doesn't matter, because that's not the thing that keeps you moving. Blood doesn't keep you moving as a zombie. Do we know what attracts them to feed? In other words, will they attack on sight or smell? I think from information, I guess, that we've all watched, even when we watch The Walking Dead, a lot of times they hold still. And a lot of times they've actually covered themselves with other dead people. So I'm assuming it's movement and it's smell. I think they can smell a live person.
Sound as well.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think that's why. If you watch The Walking Dead, there are moments where they all hold still and they don't make any sound. But there's also a scene where they're in the hospital and they literally cover themselves with a shitload of bodies.
Yeah.
To cover their scent.
Yeah.
So I think it's movement, it's smell, and it's sound. I think it's all. Yeah. I think it's all three. You know, maybe those are the only senses that it has when you're out to feed. You know, but
it's got to be scent more than anything.
I think so.
I think scent and sound more than anything,
yeah.
Because they're, you know, depending on the person too. I mean, or depending on the cadaver of the walker. I mean, it's a lot of times, you know, their eyesight might not be as keen as it is where you can sense, you have like that sense, that smell for flesh.
Right.
Which, I mean, is kind of a big hole, because if they don't have a brain, they can't really register those senses. But I'm going to leave that one alone, because that's just zombie culture anyway. But
well, this is why I have been working diligently on getting, there is a professor that actually teaches basically Zombie 101. So I just got an email the other day who's just brought to my attention. So I'm not making any promises because I don't even know, but it would really be terrific to have a professor of zombieism on the show, somebody that studies zombies for a living. Axe needs to make a zombie body spray. Blackfire, thank you for joining us. We'll see you hopefully tomorrow night show. Everybody say goodnight to Blackfire in channel. He's one of our regulars.
Good night, Blackfire.
Good night, Blackfire. I like that touch stuff.
I'm gonna make sure nobody ever comes back and just whisper "sweet dreams" every time someone leaves. Creep everybody out.
Yeah, right. He's gonna be thinking about that all night now. He's gonna hear your voice.
Yeah, he's gonna hear my voice like he's closing his eyes and just like, oh my gosh, my Twitter avatar is just popping up in his head.
Don't let the zombies bite.
Depending on what kind of guy you are, I guess.
Oh, I guess Project Hatter, are you leaving already too? God, these people, they can't stay up late.
You children.
You children. That's why there's not many people for our Rebel Live show on Monday nights. They all have to work Tuesday morning, so they're never here.
Exactly.
No stamina. And look at all these UK people are putting us USAers to shame. They're in here, and they got to work in the morning. Oh, he's not leaving. He was saying goodnight. All right. We're teasing. Project Hat is holding strong. He's representing the East Coast.
I'm repping.
That's right. So am I. We're all East Coast people. So I guess now that we have discussed the type of zombies, I just want to say Blue just showed me it's from July 29th, and this is one I hadn't seen before. He usually finds all my news for me pretty quickly. I am going to paste it into channel. There is the link. It says Texas man on synthetic pot eats family dog while animal is alive.
Shit.
And they're calling it a quote-unquote bizarre zombie attack.
I'm going to go ahead and not read that so I don't throw up.
Yeah, I'm not reading it either. I'm just giving you the title and giving everybody the option to read it. That's some crappy stuff. I hope he goes to prison and gets a girlfriend, if you know what I mean. One he doesn't want. That's some nasty crap. But considering, we haven't talked about that. Would zombies go after animals? I would think they would.
I don't know. Maybe mammals, maybe like monkeys. In any media I've ever seen, I've never seen them go after animals.
Well, then it's okay. We'll be the first to tackle this.
I think mammals. Honestly, I think mammals. Monkeys. I think that's it.
So you don't think that a zombie, now coming off of our discussion of 3 minutes ago, of saying that their one drive is to feed on anything that they smell is alive. You don't think they would go after dogs, cats, deer? I mean, and we had never even talked about that. And I know we're stretching this out a bit, but if they did, infect a dog, would the dog come back as a zombie? I know that sounds like we're stretching it, but see, Dino Gamer, and I have to agree with Dino Gamer, zombies would attack anything alive. They'd take everything. I believe he's right. If their one drive is to feed on things that are alive, I would think that they would go after anything that is alive. They don't. I don't think zombies differentiate between a human and a non-human. I think they go, this is alive, let me chase it, or let me attack it, or my son is in the room with me, and he says, well, then why don't they feed on their own? Because they're dead. They don't have an alive smell. No, that's what he's saying to me, that they would attack themselves. Basically, that's what it runs down to.
Dead flesh.
But I don't think so, because they're dead. They go after things that are living. This is why they don't kill each other.
Right, maybe, and also because like it's dead flesh. It's not like it's fresh meat, so to speak.
MLG Blue says zombies aren't prejudiced. It's free meat if you're alive. Absolutely. So, but then, but we don't know. Maybe this is something that I'll have to research this week for next week's show, is to find out, and like I said, there is a site dedicated to this, and as serious as we talk about this, how things would change, it's as serious as they study zombies. So I probably could find the answer to that. If a zombie does go after an animal, does that animal then become a zombie? Do they have the same makeup as we do to become zombies? We don't know that, because that's never, like Dom said, that's something I don't think that's ever been addressed on any even show that we've ever watched. So
yeah, that whenever I think of that, I think it was
somebody said Pet Cemetery in channel.
Shit, no, I can't even think of it. Dawn of the Dead, when they had the dog go for supplies or whatever.
Right.
They strapped like the medicine or something to the dog, and they had it walk through the crowd of zombies, and they ignored the dog. I don't know if anybody else remembers that scene, but that sticks out in my head when that comes up.
And Dino Gamer says, if there was enough left of said animal, I'd assume it would become a zombie. I don't know. That's something, like I said, I'll have to research that this week, and you guys all can as well, and see if we come up with the same answers for next week. Like Dom just said. What movie was that in? I just lost my whole train of thought.
Dawn of the Dead?
Dawn of the Dead, right. I saw that, and I'll have to watch that again. But he says, they strap medicine to the dog, and the dog essentially walked through the zombies without being eaten. So, but then I'm thinking though, because it's a live creature, just like we are live creatures, that zombies would want to go after that. Flesh is flesh. So anything alive is essentially a victim in a zombie's eyes. Project Hada. Okay, in movies or during an attack, zombies will fuck up and eat you up. Do they leave enough remains for that person to come back as a zombie? Yes. Yes, you don't, because all you need is that little part in your brain to keep you going. You could lose an arm. You don't need blood. That's what we basically said. You don't need blood because there are zombies that are walking around that some have maybe if any of the zombies are coming out of a graveyard, they've all been embalmed. So there's embalming fluid in them. There's no blood. So yeah, they don't need a whole lot, I think, to, they need their basic structure. Their spine, if their spine's broken, I would think they would be a crawler, but they don't need anything but arms and, arms and a mouth. Let's see what Dom says in channel. Andy is dying of starvation, so the group straps. Oh, you were taught that part.
That's the synopsis from that scene, yeah. That's what happens. The dog walks through literally probably 200 zombies, and they ignore it because they're trying to get food across the street to this guy in a gun shop.
So, but also though, Dawn of the Dead, essentially they're saying, you can't even be outside. I'm starting to think though that a few years in that, even though we're living in forwarded communities at this point in time, and this is, what I'm assuming, I don't think that anybody long term is going to want to live, or they might, I don't know, there might be those few rarities that want to live without being in a community, but those that do, zombies are going to become a part of, kind of like, and I don't laugh because I'm being serious, kind of like, you have fire drills at school. Not that there will be school, but there will be, people will go outside of this forwarded community to maybe go, to go look for supplies or, go look for whatever you might need outside of the community. So I think zombies would become a way of life that, but that's the other thing somebody said last week. Project Hannah goes, can't we just coexist? Well, I think in a sense, we almost would in a way. I mean, if you have to live like this, essentially, as far as any of us know, there's going to be no cell phones, there's going to be no radio, there's going to be no TV, there's going to be no communication. There'll be no government, there'll be no law.
It would be the establishment of a new food chain and a new life cycle, pretty much.
Right. So it's like we would have the knowledge of technology, but be starting over from scratch. And so that would, Kazuki says New World Order. In a sense, yeah. And I had said that last week that, somebody goes, wouldn't all the zombies essentially just die off? But that could take years and years and years because there's always going to be dead people. You know what I mean? And except for the people that are now living in these communities that know that they have to, when somebody dies in their community, they have to burn that body immediately. You can't, because of the fear of that person becoming a zombie. The thing is, though, is for all of those people that aren't, there's still going to be tons and tons of people that aren't living in communities that are still going to die and still become zombies. That's why I said, those first, if you take the stat that I gave you about cancer, let's say half of those people, half of 500,000 people are not in a community or not in a hospital and they die. They die driving down the road or trying to get help, or those are essentially zombies. So, I think you would have a few years yet, and we might be talking 5 years down the road where you still have people dying of diseases that were once controlled by medications for them, and now they're not, and they might live out, by a thread, but that's what I'm saying. So essentially, dead people are gonna. So we would have to coexist in a sense. You'd have
Right.
to just learn to live with it. But I think for the first few years, I think there would be a huge paranoia even within the people that you are living with. Dino Gamer says, I know that someone's infected. The moment I see something weird going on with them, it's off with their head. That's something we had talked about, like on I think the very first show we had said that, and Dom, this will be a new question for you. And I always like to bring it up for our new people in chat, because it's always a good question to go back to. If one of your loved ones became infected, would you kill them or would you just leave them?
Absolutely kill them.
That's what I said.
Absolutely kill them. As hard as it would be, and I mean, we never really know until we actually have to pull that trigger or whatever. Absolutely, 100% kill them. And I think most of the people that I know, especially friends, would understand and would want that.
Instead of becoming a zombie. See, that was my saying. I said, if you don't kill that person, then all you're doing is adding to the problem that you're trying to get away from. And then that person may go on, and how many more people will be killed and infected because you didn't? We had somebody the first day, his wife, and I don't know who it was, but he may not have come back to the show after this. But
Right.
he had said that his wife was pregnant, and I said okay, and he had a small child, a little girl, and he said, I think she was like 5. And I said, well, what if your wife becomes infected? And he says, I just leave her there. I says, what, so that she can kill? I says, so she's infected. I says, and she was 9 months pregnant. I says, what if, somehow during, she's going to die or something, and it spawns her into labor. The baby's born. They eat the baby. I says, honestly, think about this. Do you want this happening?
Right.
And I mean, that's, Shadow and Channel says, as soon as they're zombies, they're not family anymore. And you know what? That's the way you have to think. That's the mentality you would have to think, because they don't know that you're family. They just want to feed off of you. You become a feeding target and nothing more to them. So, Blue says, I doubt the zombie infection would be instantaneous. There would be a certain symptom showing that this person is infected so that the person can be killed before he or her turns into a zombie. It may be hard, but it has to be done. Okay, well, Blue, if a zombie, if you get bitten by a zombie and you get away from it, that's what we're talking about. We know that, and Project Hada, no, it's not cold. At all, it's not cold. If you don't kill that person, then you are essentially adding to the problem. And that person that you love that is now going to become a zombie is going to go kill other people. And that you would be responsible for that because you didn't kill that person when you had the chance. So you know what? You have to. Somebody else said, well, what if there was ever a cure? And you know what? I know in one Walking Dead show, the guy kept his family in a barn that got infected.
Mm-hmm.
Project Hada has corrected me. No, the eating baby part. But they would. If she turns into a zombie, she's going to be surrounded by them. She gives birth to the baby as a zombie. You know what I mean? Because even if the body's dead but it's fresh, it can still give birth. So they eat the baby. And that's true. So you have to kill them. You have to kill her. You have to make sure the baby's dead. I know that sounds wrong, but in that kind of situation, I think that's the only right thing to do. As well, though, because you don't know if she's infected. Let's say a zombie does bite her and she's infected. You don't know how that affects the unborn baby. Right. Project Hada, stop it. Okay, I'm sorry. There's a little bit of silence. Dino Gamer says we mean a virus for the person while they are still alive. Well, I don't think if you were bitten by a zombie, from what I could comprehend, it's pretty quickly the turnaround time before you die. I mean, it's like a day or two. Next topic. I told you, Hannah, that we got serious with this talk. Dino Gamer, we could in fact find a way to perhaps deal with the infection before they turn. But how? How do you deal with an infection when you have no pharmaceuticals? You're not a doctor. I know, but this is okay. This is what I'm saying. You're in this situation. There are dead people coming at you from all over the place. You need to gather the rest of your family who is alive and deal with this. And all of a sudden, one of your family members gets bitten. What are you going to do? Give them aspirin? And I'm not being, sarcastic. I'm being honest. All you know is that, no, Blue, they're dead. Blue says in the channel, would zombies spread diseases between them, like zombie-only diseases, which would kill them? Maybe a man-made one. No, Blue. The only thing that we have distinguished, the only thing that would kill a zombie is beheading them or burning them. We did talk about that, and that's where they would be. So, we have to deal with that. When they come out, we'll throw a zombie at them. When they come out of those bunkers. Project Hada in channel says, let's talk about the fuckers in the government that are in underground bunkers living it up during all this. And it's true, because that's exactly where they would be. So this is why I said, even if years and years went by and then the government all of a sudden popped its head up somewhere, and I think that we discussed this. We started discussing this last week, and then we said we'd continue this week. And all of a sudden, the government starts coming up to your little communities, going, "Oh, knock knock, we're back. Guess what? Everything that you do here is non-existent." I don't think that would fly too well with people. MLG Blue. It's like, what? You did nothing? Fuck you. You know what? I think that's why I said I don't think there would be any structure of government even after the fact. Even if they tried to restructure government, I don't think it could happen, because all I know is that if I had to go 5 years without my government helping me because they're living it up in a bunker somewhere, the last thing I'm going to do is go, oh, phew, you're here. Thank goodness. It's not going to happen. So I don't think there could. I think when somebody earlier said, I think it was Kazuki. I think when he said new world order, absolutely. I don't think there could be any kind of structured government in the future the way it is now. I don't think our government could pop back up and go, hey, they're all fat and smelling good, and because we talked about that. There'd be no deodorant. There'd be no bar soap. Baths women would become hairy. There'd be no shaving.
I'm done. This is too real.
Wait till Hannah's gonna go, I am out of here.
I'm out.
But this is real.
No contraception.
No contraception. We talked about that too.
No prevention for STDs and
no. And everybody would start. Obviously, they would start having sex again because men
shit would get real colorful
and smelly. I mean, I'm not trying to make light of it, but think about it. All the luxuries that we have now would not be relevant. Okay, Dino Gamer says, okay, how exactly has everything from modern society vanished? Okay, well, Dino Gamer, if the world essentially is wiped out from a zombie apocalypse, who the hell's making all the shit that you have now? Who's making the toilet paper? Nobody. It's not like you're going to be able to walk to the store and get it, because anything that is in a store was open game probably the first couple months that the zombie apocalypse happened. I know, and I had said it before, any store that I come upon, I'm rating. Anything that I can take in there for essentials. So you have to think years into this, you're not going to have shampoo. You're not going to have conditioner. Razors you might have for a while, but they're going to get dull. And then if you do have even a straight razor, you might want to not use it to shave your legs, because shaving your legs isn't going to become an essential thing to do. So you know what, all of those things that that's when I had said earlier, we're gonna have the technology in our heads to know what to do with it, but we're not gonna have the technology at our hands, because it's not gonna exist anymore, because the people that made all of these products for us are gone. Nobody's going to be running these companies or these corporations anymore. There's not going to be people stocking the shelves in stores. So things are going to change. Years and years down the road, okay, Dino Gamer says, I'm not saying it's still being made, but existing supplies would still exist, even with rating. You'd only take essential. It'd be quite a while before supplies run dry. I would give it a year and a half maybe. You don't think that the whole country of people that have survived this aren't going to run to these stores and take what they need every day? Please. I think honestly that if you're thinking that way, you're going to be dead soon. There's not going to be these things. I would say 2 years, definitely 3 years into living like this, you're not going to have any of these. So 3 years into this, there's not going to be deodorant. And there's not, 5 years into this, there's definitely not going to be anything left. How long do, no offense or anything, but if I'm set up camp somewhere and let's say I've ripped off a fucking big ass goddamn truck and I'm going by a store, I'm loading that fucking truck up with everything, and then I'll kill anybody that gets around it, because that's my shit. So. All right, Project Hada promoting another show on my show. Thanks. But years and years into this, you're not going to have those supplies. They are going to run dry. And the other thing is, though, is because we had suggested on earlier shows that the amount of dead people will actually, before it dies off, there'll be a lot more the first couple of years. So even trips out to raid are going to become few and far between, because you're not going to want to go out and risk losing your life. If you start living in kind of a communal living style and you guys can get by with what you have, or you have people that are knowledgeable enough to know, okay, you know what, well, no, we've kind of Dino Gamer said, okay, I assume that we were still talking about what you do the first year, not this far ahead. No, we're talking, into the future, that, the supplies would run dry. And I have to say, within the first year, pharmaceuticals would be gone. Everything would be gone.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's going to be the first thing that is gone. And yeah, and the other essentials are going to be gone. So this is why, actually Rob is actually writing right now a zombie survival guide. And it's, but I think I may write one on things that you don't think you would need and that you might need long term. I'm gonna make one for the long term. I'm gonna make stuff that you can barter with. We're gonna be able, whoever is living in my community, we're gonna be able to go to other communities for shit, because we're gonna have like a bar of soap, and they're gonna be like, holy shit, they have soap? No way. So, and that's the other thing we talked about. Items like that will become bartering items. Because somebody had talked about money. Would money exist? Money will not exist. Project Hada, a razor for the hairy women.
Razors might be currency.
Razors might become currency, but years into this, you think about that, and all you men that like to shave as well. Think about that.
Listen, I said it in chat, and I'm going to say it again. I don't, like, with all the smells and the non-washing, oral sex would become non-existent, and I don't want to live in that world.
But you would.
But I would rather be a zombie.
No, you wouldn't. No, you
I don't
wouldn't.
know. That shit's pretty good.
But not just, no offense or anything, but not just women are going to get hairy and smelly, but,
That's what I'm saying. So I have a question. I have a question for everybody. Obviously, meeting people and developing relationships, especially romantic relationships, would be. No, I definitely would, Dino. You got that right, baby. Meeting people and developing romantic relationships would be. It's tough enough as it is, but it'd be tougher in the apocalypse. Would you think that you would be less likely to hook up or have sex with like a stranger, a strange woman, or just some girl that you met because, hey, it's the apocalypse? Or would you tend to be more careful because, you don't know what kind of diseases you can catch? There might be, they might have something that you're allergic to or something like that.
Well.
And, of course, the risk of pregnancy.
Well, you know what? I can do myself, so.
What's that?
I said I can do myself.
I missed your response on that.
Yeah, I can just do myself, so.
Well, I mean, yeah, it gets a little old after a while.
Well, no, it doesn't. I'm just.
I hope your children aren't in the room.
No, they're not. But what I'm saying though is that, I think relationships would form. If you're living like this long term, I think relationships would form. But I'm trying to see if there's somebody close by because I hear a frantic call in the other room. Oh no, there's nobody.
I think.
But
I might be more likely to be more loose and all over the place because if anything, I'd be more reluctant to develop a long-term relationship. God forbid you have to go through that kind of loss.
Again,
so you kind of just get those
right.
hit it and quit it type of.
But in the same note, though, humans are creatures that most times seek out companionship, not because we want to, because we need it. So I would think that it might happen, quote unquote, by accident. You may not want it to, but
story of my life.
But it might happen because maybe your job is to work with somebody and she has the same job as you. Do you know what I mean? In your community. So, when everybody is kind of stressed about the same thing or kind of, you know what I mean? That's the one thing that binds everybody together. Right. And I don't think I think that it would happen. I think that it would happen and it wouldn't happen on purpose because I think many people are going to think like you. That's the last thing I need right now is a relationship.
Right.
And so, but I don't think, I just don't think you can live in quarters like that and not become attached to somebody in that kind of way. What it evolves to after that, but I do think that, hairy and all, it's going to happen because at that point in time, you're not going to care. If you become attracted to somebody, you know what I mean, and you're all, you got to understand though, it's not just, you're going to have a beard, she's going to have hairy legs. It's not going to matter.
Well, hold on one second.
He's going to go throw up now. But, when, like Dino Gamer says, humans are pack animals, it's going to happen. Absolutely. Ladies love the beards. Yes. Project Hatter, you can get used to the smells. No, you know what? You would, though. Because all of that kind of living would become normal. I mean, we would still bathe, but I don't, depending on where you would live, it would depend on, you got to understand, we're not going to have running water anymore because there's nobody running those plants to make the running water. So either we're going to be storing water in barrels or we're going to be living by a lake. So that's, bathing will become something that's done not every day. And I know that sounds bad, but that's, that's a reality. If you've got to, it's not a matter of conserving water. It's just that if you don't live by a body of water, then water would be an issue. You need it for drinking. And you're right. In Channel, hell, we survived before when we lived in hovels and shacks. Y'all only bothered by soap and razors because it's what we're used to. And you know what? You're right. These are things that we're used to. So years and years and years, as I like to say, back in the day. But that was women didn't always shave their legs, believe it or not. Oh, well, I bet you smelt nice. Went 6 months with one shower in Channel, he says, due to being on ops. So, Dino Gamer, and that's what I meant. We'd have the technology to be able to survive and rebuild, but in a different kind of way. But we would essentially be taking a huge step backwards because all of the things that are very, very easy for us to obtain now would not be. It's our way of life would become very simplistic. No, there would be no electricity. But this was something that we talked about earlier, though. Like, for example, I know how to make homemade solar panels. So, if we stumbled upon a junkyard, I could probably find all of the things needed to make a solar panel. And then you pull a car battery out of a car, well, you know what? Guess what? You have some electricity. So, I know how to cook in the ground as well. But you have to understand that, though. Those are all things. That's kind of what Dino Gamer is saying, though. You would become very crafty, but you would go back to cooking over an open fire. And a junkyard would be terrific. Like that's why I said. But Blue, you have to understand, electricity is. We're in this situation where we have to look over our shoulder at every moment. Electricity is not going to be one of our priorities, and because if we are able to have any kind of fire or anything like that, then all right, Dom's just given me a message. He's got me on mute right now, but his girlfriend has called him, and he hasn't spoken to her in about a week. She was in Aruba, so he is going to chat with her a little bit and be right back. So I'm running alone. Okay, Project Hada says, is it best to live along with a person or two or shack up with a large group? This is what we had talked about 2 weeks ago even. Some people said a large group. I would prefer a medium-sized group. Hopefully with a lot of people with varying skills. I am very crafty. I make a lot of stuff. I know how to. But see, right now, though, I'm kind of starting to can and preserve a lot of my food because of our economy. So in a sense, I already know how to do all that stuff. I know how to garden very well. I know how to bake breads, and I know how to make stuff to bake with. I know how to make an oven, a solar oven, out of a box. Dino Gamer, I have to disagree with you. The side of the group oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said it didn't affect it. But I would say that I would say that some people, though, are going to live in bigger communities. I think there's going to be bigger groups of people. We're talking 50 to 100 people in a group. They're going to start their own society, their own way of living, and there might be groups that are actually bigger, that build bigger forts, that maybe start their life back up on a farm, and enclose the farm. I said a medium-sized group because of the fact that there would be more skills. Obviously, the larger your group of people, the more you have to worry about. You have to worry about trust. Trust was another thing we had talked about. How much trust do you give in these people? If somebody knows that I have, let's say, I have a bottle of alcohol, but the alcohol can be used to clean wounds. Alcohol is not going to be used to drink. Very rarely will it. It'll be used for other purposes. And somebody else in the camp knows that. They might come after me to steal it. That's what I'm saying. The larger the group, you have to worry about disease and infection. Those are things to take into consideration. That's why it said when you had finally established your community, bringing people into it, essentially what you would call outsiders, would be a big deal. Somebody would have to bring to the table a pretty big skill to be able to come into my community. I'm not just letting anybody in. So at least I would think that would be the thought process of everybody living in the community. Dino Gamer says bringing people in would be the hardest part of the society. Absolutely, if you've established a society, let's say it's a larger society. Let's say there's 50 people in your society. You have a farm. You're able to. You have people that go out and hunt. You have people. You know what I mean? You've established kind of a working order within your community. Somebody coming up and saying, you know what, we please let us in. We need to live here. That's a big deal. Okay, well, what do you have to bring to the table? What can you do? Me letting you in here and giving us, we're going to have to portion food out for you now, which is going to take away from all other people that portion of food. So what can you bring to this community that nobody else here can do? So that person's going to have to be pretty damn special. You know what, people are going to hate, and but I also think, though, that I think a lot of the things that stresses would be high and stuff, and people are going to argue. But I also think that there would be in the long term. I'm trying to think of the right word. There would just be a reasoning. I'm not saying that people aren't going to get angry or fly off the handle at each other, but there would be conflict. I don't think would be as frequent as we think it might be, because I think everybody would understand that we're in a situation that. But like I'm saying, I'm not saying that it's not going to happen. It might happen at different levels, not maybe as extreme as arguments occur now. MLG Blue says, I think if any conflict happens, it should be broken up, and if it can't be solved, the people starting the conflict should be exiled. We need to gain chemistry so we can trust each other. Okay, well, I don't know about exiled, because no offense or anything, but if I've got a freaking scientist fighting with, a construction worker, I don't want either one of these guys leaving my community, because, they both bring something to it. People are going to get hot-headed. You're living in an environment that, you're living essentially in an environment. It's like if you had to live with dinosaurs. It's the same kind of thing. You go outside your compound where you're safe. That's a lot to deal with. Project Tatus is, how does religion play a role? I would think that I don't think religion would play a role. I think that in the end, when things start panning out, not calming down. I'm not going to say calming down. I'm going to say when they start getting more into a role where it's the same thing happening every day or whatever kind of lifestyle we're living then. I think people that I think holy rollers, and I don't mean any disrespect by that, are going to tend to flock to each other. I think, you know what though, like I'm not trying to be, I've got some people that live down the road from me, and they're big time holy rollers. On Halloween, they hand out pamphlets that show children dying and being taken to heaven by God. So these people are like the real deal. Very nice people though. I'm not going to say that much bad against them, but you know, my daughter's not allowed to play with them because they tell her that she's going to hell because she's Catholic. So I think that a lot of they're Christian as well, but I think a lot of the big time religious people, like the people down the road, are going to be dead. I don't think they're going to live because they're going to go right to their church and pray to live. And I'm not trying to be mean. I think people that in any community, you know, I can go anywhere and be, you know, I'm not going to fault somebody if, you know, every Sunday they feel like worshiping. You know, in our community, that's what they like to do. Dominic, I can hear myself on your computer.
You can?
Yeah.
Shit. How's that?
It's probably better. Thank you. So,
Word.
So in my group, if there's, you know, I per se, you know, I have, I'm trying to see kind of how diverse we are. My children are all Catholic. I, in a sense, was never baptized or christened. Their father is Catholic, so that's why they are Catholic. And Blue, I understand that you may not like Jehovah's Witnesses and we make fun of them, but I'm not here to bash anybody's religion. That's not what we're doing. We're trying to talk about it in a community. I think in a community, you know, there's going to be diversities. You might have Catholics, Christians, and Muslims all living together. And I think as long as there's that mutual respect of just let me worship in my own little space here, you know, as long as you're not going to try to come, you know, not, because no offense, if I've got 50 people living in my community and there's 4 of them that are Jehovah's Witnesses and they're literally knocking on my door every day, they will be kicked out of my community just for being annoying, not because they're Jehovah's Witnesses though. But I would think that as long as you know, that's something that we didn't talk about was religion. This is the first time it's actually really been brought up. I would think though that it would just be like now, as long as everybody kind of respects each other's wishes. You know, I have no problem. But you know, if it were my community, you know, if people feel like praying, pray. I don't care how you do it. I think religion is a great thing if you can believe in something, you know. And at that point in time, though, it might be kind of hard to believe in anything, you know. So, you know, because what kind of God would run that kind of world on anybody? That's all I'm saying. But I would think religion. I don't think it would be that much of an issue, to be honest with you. Not unless somebody was annoying about it, or you know, screaming, "You're going to hell! You're going to hell!" And then I just put them outside the doors to the zombies. So yes, Project Hatta bringing something new to the show was religion, absolutely. But it's something to consider because, you know, not everybody is as comfortable with everybody else's religion. And, you know, if you're in a certain community, I might say, hey, you know what, whatever you know, if you worship gods and goddesses, but not a god, that's fine with me. But there's some people that might have a problem with that. So it might be a problem for some. Another thing we didn't talk about though was what if you get stuck? What if you're in a community and then you find out that you have somebody had said this to me during the week, and I just remembered it now. What if you had people living it with my staff is very diverse. We have African American, we have Asian, and they said, what if you had people in there and then all of a sudden you discovered that they were they were members of the KKK, or they had a huge hatred for Asians, or after let's say you found this out. Let's say they hid it for a while because they didn't want to be kicked out of the community, and then you found out because they were having secret meetings or something. Would you kick them out of the community? I would think yes, because I don't need that kind of drama. We have, my one drive would end up being survival. So I've got to survive in this world. I don't need anybody's bullshit coming into it. And that's honestly how I feel. How do you feel about that, Dom?
You got to survive any way you can, really. I mean, to be honest, it's when you have different kinds of people, and obviously you've got people that either you might be racist or sexist. There's no room for that. There's no room in the end of the world for that. It's you fight together or die alone. That was shown when even when on Walking Dead with Daryl, his brother is a noted racist. They both have the SS symbols on their bikes. But that was a conflicting. That was a recurring theme too with T-Bone. But I think that's the same thing. Some of that stuff's going to go out the window. But if you're going to be hard-headed and you're not going to want to cooperate because someone's of a different color or a different creed, you're going to get left behind. There's no room not to be likable and not to be cooperative when you're all fighting for survival.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you're right. In channel, where was it? I'm looking back up. Dino Gamer says, well, unfortunately, even if the person was being annoying as all shit, unfortunately, if they're my engineer, I can't kick them out. But you can. Because, what are you going to deal with? Are you going to, let's say, you're the person that's able to, okay, let's say you've got a doctor in your group, your community, and he's black, and your engineer is white, and he is racist as all hell. You're telling me that that's going to fly in your community?
As soon as that engineer's kid gets sick, it's going to be a different story.
Absolutely. So you know what? If it can't be worked out, then I'm sorry, the hater's got to go. I mean, I know, but you can't live worrying if this guy is going to, what if he's a member of the KKK? Yeah, and he's from hardcore down south. Maybe his thoughts and opinions and views aren't going to change because of a zombie apocalypse. These are things that have to be taken into consideration. You can't, if you're living in a community of 50 people and your doctor is going to become a very important person there, and if he happens to be black and you have a person in there that is a white extremist, that's going to be a huge issue.
You have people like that too, even like with the religious types that might think that a certain race or a certain creed is to blame for the virus and for the apocalypse.
Yeah.
So they might stick to their guns even harder because of that.
I try to keep them apart if at all possible. Kicking out a useful member of my group should be the last resort. Keeping that kind of tension in your group is because what's going to happen there is people are going to start taking sides, and then people are going to start ganging up on him because they know that this isn't right. People are going to shun him. they're not going to want to work with him, and they're not going to let them work with him. No matter, if you're the leader of your community, the people are going to speak without even speaking. He is going to be exiled within that community for being racist, because most of us aren't. At least I hope most of us aren't in here. And so if you've got somebody like that, he will be ousted on his own. Just because of the fact that now it is known that he has an issue with the black doctor in the community. So you know what? And do you want to live with that kind of tension? I don't think so. I don't have time for that kind of bullshit in my community. I don't care if he is an engineer. Well, you know what? Believe it or not, I can figure out a water. I know how to filter water using dirt even. I know how to get water from, let's say I'm living by a river, into our community using what I can, make irrigation canals into there. I'm not going to need an engineer for that. A lot of things that we're going to have to survive on are a lot of common sense. If you're so used to your technology that you need some guy in there to show you how to do this stuff, then maybe you need to take a look at what you're doing now. But what I'm saying, though, is I don't think I can live with that kind of stress, because how stressful is that going to be for that doctor? Maybe Tom's got to leave.
I didn't want to interrupt you because you were on a little tangent. But yeah, I got to run. But thanks for the great show, guys. Thanks for having me on stuff.
Oh,
and,
thank you. We're about to wrap up anyways. We usually run at about an hour and a half, so we got to leave stuff for next week.
All right, cool. So see you guys next week. Thanks for all the awesomeness and don't let those zombies bite. And good night.
Good night.
Sweet dreams.
Thanks for joining us.